Fascinating, isn't it? How we, the human race, look out upon the world and see ourselves everywhere. Yes, today I want to talk to you about a curious little quirk of the human mind called anthropomorphism. A long, dusty word with ancient roots, and yet it dances about in our modern lives with almost comical regularity. You see, anthropomorphism is when we take what we know best, ourselves, our human form, our feelings, our deepest inner workings, and project that onto things, animals, even forces of nature. It's a delightful cognitive bias, and one that says far more about us than the creatures or objects we personify. Think about it, we give our pets personalities. We assign a cat mischief and a dog loyalty. We endow them with motives, with dreams, with loves and hates as complex as our own. But let me ask you, is the cat really plotting when it knocks that glass off the table? Or are we perhaps attributing a touch of villainy where there's simply instinct? It's a fine line, you see, between what we imagine and what actually is. But it's not just our pets, is it? We're masters of anthropomorphizing anything and everything. We see a lonely moon up there in the sky, hanging like an abandoned soul. We hear the wind howl, as if it's mourning some long-forgotten loss. We describe the angry sea, as if the tide has suddenly developed a temper. And why do we do this? Is it simply because we can't help it? Or is there something deeper going on here? A need, perhaps, to make the vast, impersonal forces of the universe feel a little more human. Maybe it's a way to comfort ourselves in the face of life's uncertainties. I mean, it's far easier to have a conversation with a grumpy coffee machine in the morning than to admit you're at the mercy of a piece of malfunctioning machinery that couldn't care less about your day. But what if I told you that anthropomorphism isn't just a quirk, it's actually a survival mechanism? Yes. Think about our ancestors. Back when we huddled in caves, every rustle in the night, every shape in the shadows could have been life or death. A predator, a storm, or nothing at all. But your mind, being clever, filled in the blanks with a face, a form, a purpose. Better to mistake the wind for a growling beast and be wrong than to dismiss the growl entirely and be dinner. So we see ourselves everywhere. It's deeply ingrained in us. We do it without thinking. We attribute meaning where perhaps none exists. We personify nature. We give life to the inanimate. And in doing so, we shape the world through a lens that's profoundly human. Consider, if you will, the most vivid example. The gods. Ah, yes, the grand stage of human imagination. Ancient cultures crafted entire pantheons of deities, didn't they? Not calm, distant beings. Oh no, they were very human gods. Jealous, wrathful, loving, vengeful, full of rage, desire, and ambition. From Zeus's thunderous tantrums to Odin's cunning, all of these figures were, in essence, projections of ourselves. They're mirrors. Mirrors in which we see our own hopes and fears writ large on the fabric of the cosmos. And so it continues. Even now, we look to the stars and dream of beings that look like us, act like us, think like us. Perhaps it's too frightening to imagine an intelligence so alien, so different, that we wouldn't know how to communicate. So we put a human face on it, a smile, a frown, eyes that twinkle with recognition, just as we've done for millennia. But isn't that the beauty of it? This bias, this tendency we have, it's not a flaw. It's a reflection of the richness of the human experience. We project ourselves because we're a storytelling species. We live by metaphor, by analogy. It's how we make sense of a world that's too big, too strange, too unknowable to comprehend fully. We look into the void, and we see ourselves. Anthropomorphism is nothing more than a human heartbeat echoed in the universe around us. A humble reminder that we are, after all, fragile creatures trying to understand an endless, indifferent cosmos by making it a little more familiar, by giving it a name, a face, a feeling. So the next time you accuse your toaster of being stubborn or your car of being temperamental, remember this. It's not just a quirky habit, it's your mind doing what it does best, making the unknowable just a little more human and therefore a little more understandable. And in that there's a certain brilliance, don't you think? Ah, the marvelous mind of man.